Trustee Krasovich,
Yes.
Trustee Kreiser,
Here.
Trustee Grabowski,
Here.
Trustee Gergen is excused. Trustee Rhodey,
Here.
Trustee Belt,
Here.
President Knutson.
Here. Okay, item 2 is public hearings. We have none. Item 3 is the approval of the minutes of the previous village board meeting, April 16th, 2024. I hope everyone's had a chance to go over. Are there any questions, comments, or corrections as the way they are presented this evening? And if not, I'll look for a motion to approve as presented then.
Motion to approve.
Second, Roy.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting minutes are hereby approved. Citizen comments. This is an opportunity for citizens to share their opinions with board members on any topic they choose. However, due to Wisconsin open meeting laws, the board is not able to answer questions or respond to your comments. All comments should be directed to the board. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Speakers are asked to use the podium, and please state your name and address for the record. Is there anybody here that would like to make a public comment at this time? Okay. Item 5, ordinances, we have none. Item 6, resolutions, we have none. Item 7, old business. Discussion and possible action regarding quote to paint the village logo on the water tower on 1010 Quinlan Drive. Scott, do you want to take this? Okay, or David.
So as you may have seen, the Village of Pewaukee is in the process of completing our contract with O&J Coatings for repainting of the water tower at 1010 Quinlan Drive. The contract has already been approved for $295,000 for the base bid, which includes the exterior repaint of the 200,000 gallon spheroid with containment, wet interior repaint, dry interior repaint, and other items. An additional $5,000 mandatory alternate bid was already approved to paint the words Village of Pewaukee in 2 locations on the water tower in black lettering to bring the total price to $300,000. At the last meeting, or 2 meetings ago, the board asked staff to obtain a cost to paint the logo, village logo on the water tower, and obtain a mock-up of the options. The action requested of the village board is to review and discuss whether or not to approve an amendment to increase the contract amount to paint the village logo on the water tower in 1 or 2 locations, instead of painting the words Village of Pewaukee on the water tower in 2 locations. The costs for the logo, applying the logo on one side of the water tower would be $13,000 minus the $5,000 that we already approved for the words. So it would be $8,000 additional cost. Or we could apply the logo on 2 sides of the water tower for $15,000 minus the $5,000 we already approved for a total of $10,000 additional cost. Or we could just leave what we already have approved, which is painting the Village of Pewaukee in 2 locations.
Questions, comments?
Just for the point of clarity, the 2 mock-ups you have of the lettering of the option 1, option 2, those are the same price. We're just choosing between the 2 of just lettering. One's all black, one's colored with different fonts.
So just for the lettering, we had to hire a third party to do this mock-up, and they just put, so the only one that we have approved is where it says Village of Pewaukee in black letters. The colored version is not an option. You know, unless we want to do that, I'd have to get a separate cost for that.
I guess just point of view, I guess I do want it on 2 sides. Now the question is whether there's value to it being a logo versus just the lettering, and I'm having a tougher time on the $10,000 spend. Concerned that you don't really see the Village of in the small font in the logo version, where it's pretty clear in the black version, and it doesn't come at the $10,000 cost. Did notice that Heartland, their water tower that's fairly close to Highway 60, does have a logo on both sides, on the west side and on the east side of their water tower.
Any other comments?
Oh, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
it doesn't. I was hoping that the newer one that just had the Village of Pewaukee on it in our font and color, I was hoping that was an alternative. I thought that was a really good alternative, because the Bow's Point 2 in our logo, the Village of, you can't really see. And so I was hoping it would be the same, and I was going to go with that one. Because it still gave that look, but I've been waffling back and forth on this since our last meeting. And I do think the black lettering of the Village of Pewaukee is sufficient to get the point across. Again, I really do like the other option of just the letters, but we don't know what that is right now, so.
I actually agree with that as well. It feels much more like on brand, and it relates to everything else that we do that has our name on it, whereas the black seems kind of off. So is it possible to get a
It
price
is
on that?
possible. I'd have to check with the contractor to see if they would hold their price or if they would charge additional for
Don't get me wrong, the logo looks really slick, and that's what we have on the sign and everything, but the lettering, I'm in agreement as well, that I was hoping option 2 was the option, just because the Pewaukee is the full height. The lettering seems to stand, the Pewaukee part seems to stand out a little bit more, or highlighted, I should say. But I would be inclined to go with lettering on both sides, and option 2 would be my preference, but if it's option 1, so be it.
Chris?
I spoke my piece on this last time. I don't support the additional expenditure of $8,000 to $10,000 for the logo. I mean, in my marketing experience, a water tower would never be something that's part of a brand portfolio. So really the message needs to be, you are driving by the Village of Pewaukee, and I think that that is effectively communicated with the lettering, and hopefully we can maybe find something else to spend $8,000 to $10,000 on.
Okay, I've heard, if I've heard correctly, there's a leaning towards option 2. Is that what I'm hearing? If the price is the same? And if it's not the same, then option 1 would be okay?
That's what I'm inclined to go with.
Seems fair.
Would someone like to make a motion to that effect?
I guess you could take a crack at this. Make a motion to approve the lettering on 2 sides of the water tower for the agreed upon 300,000 with preference of option 2 if cost remains the same.
Second, Rudy.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Okay. Thank you, sir. Item 8, new business. A, discussion and possible action on suburban critical incident team mutual aid agreements. So we have the chief here this evening. Chief, would you like to start us out?
Certainly. So about a year ago, we in SCIT, Suburban Critical Incident Team, a tactical team that was established in 2013. They decided to bring on tactical emergency medicine services, to have an actual paramedic EMS worker trained with the TAC squad to be there at every search warrant, every event. And with that, we had to draw up a new MOU regarding that. So we brought on Lake Country Fire and also Brookfield Fire. And then we looked at changing and correcting some of the language similar to another agreement that we signed in 2019, the SMART agreement, which is Suburban Mutual Assistance Response Team, that if called upon, we help other jurisdictions. That's a SMART agreement. So Mark Blum authored the original, and it went back and forth with some of the 9 or the 8 other jurisdictions that are part of the TAC squad to get the wording right, that everybody is in agreement with this. Other jurisdictions went before the board, Heartland, Elm Grove, and we're just going one by one for approval on these 3 documents. And Mark Blum could probably fill us in the legalese of creating this, and this was not an easy win to write this document.
There were many cooks in the kitchen, but I think this has got to the point now where it satisfies all of the different constituencies. As the chief indicated, it really was just precipitated by having the same kind of mutual aid language for asking for the med teams to participate that the other law enforcement teams were responsible for. And the one thing that was the last hang-up, so to speak, had to do with what would happen if an officer were to be injured or a firefighter were to be injured in the course of providing these services. And for example, if there would be a long-term disability or even a death, how would you handle that? Typically under these, the responsibility for payment of salary rests with the employer of that individual, not necessarily the entity that requested the mutual aid assistance. But there is language in the state statutes that allows for a request to be made of that other jurisdiction and to get reimbursement in those kind of situations. And so that language was made part of this to make sure that it was consistent with the statute and the other agreements that we had. So as I said, it had a long history, as the chief indicated, but I think we got to a point where it meets the needs of all concerned.
I also contacted Mark Hoppy, the assistant fire chief. Him and Mark Bierce have been contacted by Lake Country Fire, Brookfield Fire. They're aware of the cooperation between those entities and the SCIT team, and everybody knows their role relative to an officer getting injured as a result of a search warrant or a citizen who's conveying, who's providing medical. They've had those conversations, and they're aware of this. They received copies of this also, so they're fine with how these other fire departments are working with our SCIT team.
Are there any questions? Yes,
Just
Bob?
too quickly, the tactical vehicle that was purchased a few years ago, that's, I assume the maintenance and upkeep of that vehicle is covered under another agreement?
Yeah, so that's under the original SCIT agreement that provided for that.
Okay.
That vehicle is housed in New Berlin because they have a underground garage, and because of the proximity to the freeway and so forth. But yeah, the maintenance and so forth is dealt with under that agreement, and was one of the topics that was talked about when that was purchased.
Okay. And then the other question I had, Chief, was in regard to the city not being part of this. Is that because Washington County Sheriff has their own unit?
I'm not exactly certain why they didn't reach out to Pewaukee. This was the president of SCIT is Chief Jeff Hingis from New Berlin, and he was the one that started this whole language and trying to get more people involved. Forrest Clevenstein is also, he's the commander of SCIT. He's also out of New Berlin. So they're the ones, Jeff previously been on the unit, the chief, and then with Forrest being the commander, they originated and they had the conversation of who would be involved as far as the Thames and not the city of Pewaukee.
So there's specialized training, as you can imagine, to participate in something like this. And those two departments, City of Brookfield and Lake Country, had that training, and so they were ready to go as far as participating right away. Other communities may decide in the future that they also want to engage in that training and also participate in this, but for right now, it's just those two.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it doesn't look like any of the Waukesha County one, the Pewaukee, Sussex, we're not part of it. So, unless I'm missing Sussex.
Well, their police teams are, but it's just the fire teams that aren't.
Are there any other questions or comments? Would someone like to make a motion then as it relates to this particular subject?
Make a motion
Yep.
to approve the Suburban Critical Incident Team Mutual Aid Agreement.
Second, Krasovich.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is hereby carried.
I gave copies for signatures for President Knutson. Cassie has 3 forms to sign.
Okay, I'll do that before I leave tonight.
Thank you.
Item B, discussion and possible action on liquor license for BJ's Crafty Tap at 1230 Georgetown Drive. Cassie?
Hi. The new owners are here, so if you have questions, you can ask them. But they're basically, MCV Beers is selling or moving out, and they are going to want to move in. So they have the same premise as the previous owner. Jennifer already owns 4 Keep, so she knows the rules and how it goes. But yeah, pretty straightforward. Any questions?
Any questions or comments? Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the Class B license, the combination license for BJ's Crafty Tap.
Second, Roy.
I have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is hereby adopted. Discussion and possible action on cemetery cremains section layout. Cassie again?
Yeah. So some of you may remember we approved last year, I think it was, in October, to create a cremation only part of the cemetery. So we worked with R.A. Smith. They laid it out. We made some revisions here and there, and you see the draft in the packet. We're just looking for any comments from you guys before we start moving ahead with like rules, regulations, placement, that kind of thing.
Have we established what the cost is going to be at? Okay,
No, I would put that with the rules and regulations.
okay, and we'll compare it to other
Yeah.
similar?
I think Heartland has a cremation only plot, and I can look at some other ones too, just
Okay.
to see what.
Are there any other questions or comments? Do I have a motion?
Do we need a motion to approve this layout? Is this a direction item? This is actually something we're moving on. I'll make a motion to approve the layout of the cemetery cremains section.
I'll second, Kaiser.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Don't think I've ever
Motion is
seen-
hereby adopted. Item D, discussion and possible action on award of contract for well number 4 HMO treatment system. Scott?
We'll ask for deferral of this to the next meeting. We've not heard from the PSC yet on the required approval.
Okay, so we'll be tabling this or moving this to the next one.
Does the PSC even have a board right now to be able to be approving these?
Public Service Commission of Wisconsin, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Scott, I do have a question. I thought in that contract there was something that we had a certain date it had to be turned in by?
Yeah, the contractor, at this point, the low bid contractor has agreed verbally to hold their pricing through the end of the month. Otherwise, they're only required to hold it to May 13th. The Public Service Commission has through May 18th to provide a response. Rooker and Milky did reach out to the presumptive low bidder, and they have agreed verbally and will be getting us a letter in writing agreeing to hold their pricing through the end of May, which
Okay.
should get us to.
And extend the award date.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Item E, committee appointments. I have none at this time. It'll be on the second meeting. Item 9, citizen comments. We have no citizens here anymore. So we are going to move right to item 10, closed session. The Village Board of Village of Pewaukee will enter closed sessions pursuant to Wisconsin Section 1951G for the purpose of conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is referring oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved, specifically regarding a notice of claim from Greg Kep pursuant to Wisconsin statute section 1985 1C to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which a governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility specifically regarding village clerk, village treasurer, and village clerk, and pursuant to Wisconsin section 1985 1E for the purpose of deliberating, negotiating, purchasing public properties, investing in public funds, or conducting other specified public business, whatever competitive bargaining reasons require a closed session specifically regarding negotiations with the city of Pewaukee for a joint library agreement and related to proposals for firms related to village administrator recruitment. Do I have a motion to move into closed session, please?
Sorry, Jeff, could you repeat that?
You want me to?
Or shout sold afterwards, maybe?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Make a motion to move into closed session.
Second, Roby.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Trustee Krasovich?
Yes.
Trustee Kreiser?
Yes.
Trustee Grabowski?
Yes.
Trustee Brody?
Yes.
Trustee Bell?
Yes.
President Knutson?
Yes, we are hereby in closed session.
Hold on one second.
Ann is staying in because I asked her to please stay. Yes. Good to go?
Nobody's out there.
What?
Is anyone ever actually standing out there?
Okay. Item 11A, possible action on claims submitted by Greg Kep. Do I have any motion as it relates to that particular item?
Motion to deny the claim?
Second, right there.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Item B, possible action on appointment of a village treasurer. Do we have a motion to that item?
Motion to appoint Cassie Smith as village treasurer and Jenna Peter as village clerk.
Only one.
That's the next item.
Oh, I can only do one?
Yep.
Start over.
Well, who should I take back? Okay, I
The
take
first
back
one is
Jenna.
the clerk, is the treasurer position.
First one is the treasurer's position.
Again.
Motion to appoint Cassie Smith as village treasurer with salary as outlined.
Second, Grabowski.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion?
We talked about payroll date for appointment effectiveness next Monday. Does that work best? Just trying to. Is that best? Okay.
And thank you, Cassie.
Effective May 20th. With the motion and second or with the
Standards.
Effective, okay.
Second standards.
Motion and a second, agree?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Possible action on appointment of village clerk. Do I have a motion?
I already forgot the date for salary. Is it May 20th?
20th.
All right. Motion to appoint Jenna Peter as village clerk with salary as outlined, effective as of May 20th.
Second, Grabowski.
Exhausted.
And I had a second?
Yes, Grabowski.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Item E, possible action on approval of agreement for recruitment firm related to village administrator position. Somebody want to take a stab at this one?
Motion to appoint permission.
Delegate authority.
To delegate authority related to recruitment proposals to the village president.
Close.
Up to
And to
up
authorize him to enter,
Authorized.
yeah, and authorize him to enter into an agreement with the selected firm with the maximum contract amount not to exceed $25,000.
You went too long there.
What he said.
Yes. And authorize permission to enter into an agreement with selected firm. Up
With a
to-
contract not to exceed $25K.
And with a contract not to exceed $25,000.
Well done. Second, Krasovich.
Okay. Do we need to have your approval on there? Should we have your approval in there for the contract?
No, you can decide to talk to whomever you want. And whether that includes me is up to you.
Well, no, I want you on. I'd like you to add with the attorney's approval of the contract.
Okay.
Well, does the motion and the second?
I guess.
I don't know how to think about this.
All right, we don't need it. We don't need it.
Oh, no, we don't have it.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Item 10, adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second, Brody.
Let's get out of here.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Now we are adjourned.
So we need to keep those nice short agendas.